Okay, working backwards. If you don't know what I mean by that, you were not with me in grade 11. In grade 11, you would know what I mean. And that's fine, you'll find out very, very quickly. So if the question ever provides you with surface area, lateral surface area, volume, right, you will have to use some algebra to come up with a missing dimension. Okay, so you basically apply opposite operations until you have isolated the variable in question. Okay. But importantly is you need to figure out which formula am I going to start with. That is important. You need to identify what shape are we talking about. So example 1, if the volume of a box is this, and the length is 12, the height is 9, determine the width of the box. Okay? So basically the volume of a box is length times width times height. By definition, if something has the same shape throughout, we call it a prism. A prism is always area of its base times the height, okay, by definition. If they ever throw a shape at you that you don't recognize, that is what it is, okay? So we know the volume, so we substitute that in. We know the length is 12. We don't know what the width is, and the height is 9. So in this case, it will be quite easy to figure out. You could do a bunch of things here. You could multiply 12 times 9. We could do that first. 108, right? 108W, that's what you can multiply the numbers. And then you just divide by 108. Okay. You cancel out here. It's not really canceling out, by the way, it's 1. 108 divided by 108 is 1. But then here on this side, I don't have the key in front of me right now. 4.35. Okay, so, and we are in millimeters. So the default is always 2 decimals at the end. That's our default, unless they tell you otherwise. Okay, so that's backwards. Let's try the second one here. You want to have a chance first? I'm going to take it because I want to get to something else, and this will just come back often. Okay, so volume of a cone is this. They give you the height. What is the radius? All right, so the volume of a cone would be, help me out here, pi r squared times height. So it's almost like a cylinder, except for it is divided by 3. Yeah. It's volume, not surface area. So you got to watch out. Sometimes it could be surface area. So we know volume is 26. So we substitute that in. We don't know what the radius is, but we do know that the height is 6.5. All of that divided by 3. And so there's a little bit more going on around R, okay? And I always like to get rid of what's underneath it, like what's dividing it. That's what I like to get rid of first. So I'm going to take this side, the whole thing, multiply that by 3, take the whole side on the other, on the left-hand side, also multiply it by 3. And the main purpose of it is to get rid of this, right? You're doing it to get rid of that. And on the left side, you multiply. You get 78. And on this side, you're left with pi r squared times 6.5. And yes, you could essentially multiply these two and just get something on your calculator, but I'll just leave them like that. And I'll just tell you that you can divide this side by pi times 6.5, and you do the same thing on the other side. I need you to see various ways of doing that. So cancel, cancel. And on this side, there's a bunch of stuff happening here. You have to be very careful. Grab your calculator. I want you to type this in and see what you get. I hope you catch what could potentially go wrong there if you don't do that right. If you type this in, if you go 78 divided by pi times 6.5 as is, you're going to get the wrong answer. So especially if something is in the denominator, I would put this in brackets. Like I go pi times 6.5, but put that in brackets so it does that first before dividing. So let's see what we get. Oh yeah, and that's the thing with the square root and cube root. If you were in grade 11, you know what I'm talking about. It's a bit of a pain. It's my one issue with this calculator. So I'm going to go divide it by second, right, to get pi times 6.5, like that. Then you're doing it right if you type it in like this. And you get that number. So write it down. 3.819 something. That's r squared. And then we need to, last but not least, we got to get rid of that square. So you square root both sides. That's essentially what you're doing. To be left with r. And so you just press second and then x2, the x2 button, and then go up, copy and paste it in, and hit enter one more time. It's 195. And we are in yards. I should give you a disclaimer. I am not sure if they will ever have different units. You know how they give you the area in cubic yards, and all of a sudden they give you this in feet? You have to be careful. I would just say read, read, read every single time. Okay? If there's some conversion needed, you need to convert. Surface area. Surface areas, in my opinion, they tend to be a bit harder, a little bit more going on. But it says lateral surface area of a cylinder is this. Determine the height of the cylinder if the radius is that. So lateral surface area, it's actually going to be a little bit less work. It's just cylinder 2 pi RH, right? Yeah. Is that what it is? 2 pi RH? Yeah, okay. I don't memorize them. I just derive them. That's what I usually do. So we know that this is 870 squared inches. So now I'm going to add units just to mess it up even more for you. The radius is 19.5. And I want the height. So I don't know what that is. This one is actually pretty straightforward. It's just dividing. So I'm going to divide this side by 2 pi 19.5. If things are multiplying like that, you can actually just bring it down. I need you to understand that alternatively, you could have gone 2 times pi times 19.5, get a number, but don't round. And then you just divide both sides by that number. It is the same thing, okay? I just need you to see it in various ways. So cancel, cancel, cancel. You're essentially turning that into 1. And I guess just be careful how you enter this. So 870 divided by brackets 2 times pi times 19.5. And that's 7.10. And we are in inches here. So I'm going to say if you need more practice, page 11. I will post the key later. Maybe on your study sheet, have at least one example where you go backwards. In case you need to ever do that. Cube root. If you're new to this, if you're new to applied, cube root is a pain to get in this calculator. So I'll show you, okay? Maybe you need to add this to your, I would say to access cube root, you press math, that button, and then it's option number 4. There's a big chance that you'll forget by the time we get to the exam. So I would just add this to my study sheet. Math 4. It blows my mind that it's not a button on the calculator. That is honestly, what are you doing, right? So you got to press math. Math button is right here on the left side, right? Math, and then you can either press number 4 or just scroll down to the 4th option, hit enter, and then it brings it to your main screen. I don't know if I mentioned this. Also, if you ever press a button and it takes you some weird place, second mode is like the quit button. It takes you back to the main screen. So if I press apps, let's say, and you're like, oh my, I don't want to go back, right? Second mode brings you back to the main screen. That's your quit, okay? Or you turn it off, turn it back on, but I don't even know if that does it. Apps, let's turn it off, turn it back on. Yeah, that solves your problem, okay? Anyways, lots to learn. So I'm gonna stop this there. I will just show you the answers, maybe, on this video if you don't want to go look at the key. There's a cube root required for number 4. There's a square-based pyramid. But remember, square-based pyramids have the base is square, so both sides of your pyramid yikes, right? This is a square down here. So then you can also do that with square-based pyramids. And a cylinder, the volume of a cylinder. This one is a little tricky, but if you know the definition of volume, I tell you that the base has an area of this. Determine the height of the cylinder. You need to understand that a cylinder has a circle as its base. So if you think of the volume of a cylinder, it's pi r squared, that's this part, times h. So I basically give you this. You can insert 640 into there and basically just be left with finding the height. So it's actually not as hard as you think. Anyways, let's stop this here.